What's up, guys? Who's your boy? Who's Records? Let's get it going. Another review.
Yeah.
Let's plug.
Oh, actually, can we see any of our faces right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can see our faces.
Fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah,
Our faces are everywhere. They're all over the news, all over billboards. We're big players.
We'll see how it turns out. I'm just looking at my window. I don't even have you guys on it.
Dickie, we'll tell you if there's an issue. But so far,
you could probably drag the stuff to your other monitor.
Okay,
don't confuse them.
No.
Don't confuse them.
Yeah, sorry to keep bringing it up. All right.
Yeah, so let's go, baby.
Yeah, as everyone can tell, we've had a format update. Not to get political, but one of our members has, who is, I will say, highly incentivized to use Google products, has exercised his political influence here, and we've kind of switched up to a different format. So
for the better.
Yeah, let us know how it's looking. And besides that admin announcement, also wanted to talk about the website. You know, we've just been sitting on this inventory for a while and not selling shit. I mean, just please help us out. Like, it's just burning a hole in our totally real storage facility unit, totally real hardworking employees who have their totally real jobs, and we just
supporting their families that are totally real.
It's brutal. But
guys, stimulate the economy. What are you so selfish? Buy some records.
I know. Buy some records, man.
From us, though.
Yeah, in all seriousness, we do have a website and sell stuff, so reach out to us for discounts, bulk orders. Happy to work with people.
I'm not giving discounts. Not yet. Maybe. All right, sorry about that.
We're actually jacking prices up.
Yeah, prices are going up.
Yeah, they're on the rise.
Nope. Don't listen to them.
Yeah, inflation's crazy, guys. It's 9% a day.
Let's just move on.
Gotta get it while it's hot.
Let me get to the song list.
I picked up some records yesterday.
There we
One
go.
of which
Sorry about that.
was an audio telling of Little Red Riding Hood. Pretty sick. Pretty sick.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd ever play that, but
I've listened to it like 18 times already. What's that?
You don't play your audiobooks on vinyl, man? What's up?
Yeah, I burned them.
It's a 12 disc.
It's a 40-hour audio.
Burn it onto a laser disc that I put in my laser disc player.
Song of Ice and Fire on vinyl. It's like 30 records long.
Yeah.
How did we? So American Idiot today.
Yeah, how did we land on this?
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like an idiot for listening to this album for sure. Yeah,
And you're so wrong.
Yeah,
I still can't tell if you're being serious or not, but I guess time will tell.
Why does it say
who knows, man?
It is October 15th, 2015. That's just wrong. It was September 21st, 2004.
2004, yeah.
Been listening to this album for almost 20 years now. That's kind of crazy.
Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah. And I'm saying that like I think you guys are in the same boat, but like I was literally listening to this 2004. It's one of like my first memories of like a song that I associate memory with. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that memory, I used to do Taekwondo back in like elementary school.
Yeah.
And there was like these three brothers that were, I was like a blue belt, not a big deal. I could kick your ass.
It was a rainbow belt.
Me and my 0 ACLs. But there were three brothers who did Taekwondo. They were older than us. So, they were probably like teenagers, or maybe the oldest one was like 20. So they were listening to this album, and I think that's how I found out about it on my little iPod, like the long white iPod shuffle stick.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine a 12-year-old listening to this right now. They'd think we're like 45 talking about that ancient technology. But so I literally remember listening to this album, Jesus, Suburbia, stuff like that, in the parking lot there. And that's, we would have been what, like 6 or 7?
Yeah. 6.
So I don't know how we landed on it for today. I think we kind of just
who decided?
Seamus.
I'd have to think it was Seamus. Yeah.
presumably myself for Green Day
Yeah.
selection.
I was at the Baltimore Museum of Art today, and some scrub-looking dude was walking around with this shirt on,
Oof,
the album cover.
So
Yeah.
he's obviously not a scrub.
Oh well, I mean, it's a scrub album, so what are you gonna do?
wrong.
Still
But,
can't tell if you're being serious.
Might be the Seamus versus Nigel episode.
dude, I want James' side through and through. This is one of those albums that we like had in the car growing up. You know, I always had those CDs in the car. This was one of them. This album with my sister and my two cousins, we listened to this and then there's an Avril Lavigne album, Let Go, that came out at the same time. Those two.
Well, we
albums.
don't need to group those together.
It's a good album. And this was like the soundtrack for like these 2 years. Like this album just was on repeat. And then, listened to it a few times throughout the past 20 years, but really was like, haven't listened to it in a long time until this past week where I listened to it
For good reason.
Yeah, it's nostalgic, man.
Super nostalgic. That could cloud my judgment on how good it actually is, but it's
It
definitely
does have nostalgia points for sure.
Yeah. Just starts with American Idiot. You're like, fuck, we're back.
Yeah.
Back.
Do you know, and Dan, Jack, the political influences behind American Idiot? Because it's obviously like pretty politically driven. I think Jesus of Suburbia makes some kind of, I don't know if it's like political commentary more than it is just kind of like anti-establishment punk.
That Holiday
It's like
was one of the biggest ones that was politically charged as well. It's all anti-Bush. And so just like the mass confusion during the time, like no one really knew what was going on. And it's just, I mean, we could back up and talk about the rock opera that this is, and just like the entire story, and that it inspired a musical, and so on. But a lot of it was essentially just like the mass confusion of 9/11 and the Bush era and the Iraq War. This was all super like the biggest issues at the time, which kind of just completely translated into this. And I know Billy Joe was saying like he doesn't want to preach, but he felt like he kind of had to, because he like hated Bush so much. Just crazy, really, really interesting, and kind of like the spawn of like the concept that this album is, and like the story that it's telling of just like the Jesus of Suburbia is the character.
Yeah, definitely like a kind of like concept album, like Jack mentioned, it's like a pop punk opera. Like they refer to it as such, and they kind of like tried to create it as this whole big storyline. And I think like this album is kind of an anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of these songs on this album, I would describe as anthems.
Yeah, anthems almost like stadium rock. It's like a way that I would describe it. Something like American Idiot, the song, too. And yeah, I guess like to your point, Jack, I don't think Green Day had much political commentary in any of their earlier work. And I know pretty, like, I would say I've listened to every Green Day album aside from maybe like the ones after 21st Century Breakdown, which, quick nod to the band. I guess it maybe doesn't mean much if you don't like their music, but dude, they've been making music since the late 80s and they're still around.
They're prolific.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, like whatever you think of them, whatever you think of this album, whatever you think of Dookie, which is the other heavy hitter by them. And
I thought all their albums were Dookie.
What does that even mean?
Guy, which I think like that's their other heavy hitter. I might like that one more than this, but it's a good thing that we're going to talk about it next week. I think Nigel was asking for us to do that.
Please, no.
I have Dookie on vinyl actually,
Nice.
but yeah.
Well,
so and they started from a punk, very like raw punk sound into now more of like the now it feels a little generic, maybe in their last couple albums, but there's still some songs that I like from it, the stadium rock kind of stuff. But again, like almost 40 years, I think that puts us at 30 plus. So
Great point.
Yeah, they definitely grew up with this album. Like they matured a lot with their like lyrics they chose. And I mean, you compare this to Dookie, there's there's 5 albums between those two that I'm not really familiar with. To be honest, I really just know this and Dookie. I'm not a huge Green Day listener, but they like the stories of the 2 albums and what they talk about is like, it's like you can liken it to like Sublime, just like kind of like in for Dookie, just like kind of immature, just like punk rock, just like having fun. And this album is like a lot, like they take on a lot bigger topics. And they're both loved for really different reasons, I feel. Dookie and American Idiot.
Yeah. One's more the happy-go-lucky, like 90s punk vibe. You've got songs like When I Come Around on it, which is a song that I love, obviously. But again, not a whole lot of like lyrical depth to any of the songs.
I mean,
as
our resident lyrical expert, Seamus Hoyer thinks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I might need one of you guys to confirm that for me, because in my mind, there's no lyrical depth to any song. Because I just don't.
Every artist is speaking in tongues to Seamus.
Yeah,
it's
Spanish.
Nigel, let's
get it over with.
Yeah, go ahead.
Explain yourself.
Yeah.
No, I do want to. First off, I want to get some clarification on this album, right? So the way these songs are broken down, like, are these separate songs, or is like Holiday and Boulevard of Broken Dreams the same song?
I think it depends on what platform you're listening to. Spotify, like the same song. Like, it's kind of like a concept album. Like there isn't really like a beginning or an end. It's just an album. And
they intentionally tried to like blend some together like that.
Which, yeah, I really appreciate that. Like they could have been more commercially successful probably if they released them all as like single songs from the get-go, but they didn't. And I think that's really cool, and I love listening to it like that because there's such different parts to these songs, and they're all like 9 minutes long, which is just awesome.
Yeah, I have to say the exact opposite. I don't like how long these songs are.
Oh, jeez.
It's awful. What's up?
Why is it awful?
I just like I don't see a reason for these songs to be as long as they are, because okay, let me just start at the beginning. American Idiot, great song, best song on the album in my opinion. The thing is, I like pieces of these, but the way, at least on Spotify, that's broken down, and I think the way it was originally released, is that, what is it, Holiday and Boulevard are one cohesive song. Are We the Waiting at St. Jimmy are one cohesive song. Novocaine and Rebel are one. And I think the rest are...
Extraordinary Girl and Letter Bomb are one, and then the rest are solo songs.
Okay.
And I don't know how it originally came out, because this might be the original track listing where it's separated. To Jack's point, I think even on Apple Music, they might be individualized. And when I was listening to them growing up on iTunes, I think they were listed individually.
Yeah, I remember Holiday and Boulevard being broken up like back in the day.
Well, they might have split them up for radio play or something. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, possible. Yeah.
But as it sits, or maybe as their intention is having these songs together, I just don't see the point. Like I don't understand the reason for combining these individually, like, longer songs into like 9-8 minute songs over and over again. I think Jesus of Suburbia is just way too long. It just drags on forever, and it's like
bad take.
Literally, when I think of this album, I think of, oh, here's a cool guitar riff. Let me play it 16 times, and then let's just make another song, but make it the same song, and it's another decent guitar riff, and play it 16 times, and let's do that 4 times, and now we have a 9-minute song, and then we're gonna do it again for every other song. The same thing with Homecoming, 9 minutes 18 seconds.
Homecoming is such an awesome song. Are you kidding me?
No, I don't
You're
like it.
really boiling it down.
Yeah, there's so much there, man.
No, there's nothing there I want to listen to. It all sounds the same too. Like there's not much, at least to me, like interesting going on. Like
You're telling me American Idiot sounds like Wake Me Up When September Ends?
Or Letterbomb.
I'm saying that they do sound similar. Like sure, they're different kinds of songs, but like
It's the same band.
it's like yeah, but it's like I don't know how to exactly describe it, but the guitar sounds exactly the same. The drums, they just sound so cookie cutter that I just like by the time I get through like 2 songs, which is like 20 minutes, it's like my ear is just so tired of listening to this like played out just and then
Well, maybe it's
there's
the
some
standard
stuff.
because they set the standard for like early 2000s pop punk rock. Man.
I guess I just don't like it. I like some of the drumming. The drumming is interesting, but like
I was going to ask you about that.
it's actually it's not super interesting, honestly. Some of it's good. The fills are nice, but they just do the same fill over and over again. Like there's no variation. It sounds like everything is just like quantized and made by like a computer. And I don't know who mixed this or produced it, because it's possible that they actually went in and quantized every single thing to make it sound like that. But a lot of it's just so repetitive. Like I think in Jesus of Suburbia, I remember like the last like 4 minutes of that song, they're just playing the same riff, or I guess the last 2 minutes and 38 seconds. They're just playing the same riff and just saying the same words over and over and over again. And I find it annoying because I like American Idiot, I like Holiday, I like Boulevard. I don't think they should be in this. I see no reason that Holiday and Boulevard should be in like the same song. Like
I don't know why that
why?
bothers you so much though. Because
Yeah.
because
Because
especially
I can't listen to one of them at a time. You know what I mean?
You can.
I get that.
Look on Green Day's Spotify. Their second most.
I know it's not impossible, but the way that the
alone.
album was released or like intended to be released, like I just have to listen through Holiday to get to Boulevard, even though they're very different songs and have different vibes.
I thought
and the
everything
same
sounded
thing.
the same.
What's that?
I said I thought everything sounded the same.
Oh, yeah.
No, like the audio, like the audio sounds the
He's
same.
backtracking. He's backtracking.
Oh man,
It does sound the same. It's just like sure, the songs are about different things, but like all the instruments sound exactly the same in every song. Like there's not, at least to me, there's nothing like interesting going on. It's just like, this is the guitar, it's going to sound this way throughout the same way throughout the entire album. This is the drums, it's going to sound the same way throughout the entire album. This is the vocals, it's going to say this sound the same way throughout the entire album. Like sure, there are faster parts, there are quieter parts, but it's not like the dynamics are kind of I guess lacking for me. And then some of these songs I don't like at all, and they're linked with a song that I do like, and it's like I can't, like Are We the Waiting? Hate that song, terrible. Saint Jimmy, I like it.
Are We the Waiting? It's definitely like, you know.
Novocaine, don't really like. She's a Rebel. I think that's a pretty good song, but they're attached as well. I don't know. It's just way too long. I don't know. I don't like what they were trying to do. At the end of the day, like maybe they executed, but whatever they were trying to do, I did not like it because the songs are way too long to like listen to without just being, I don't know, just going deaf. Like literally, like I would go through like 3 of these songs. I'm like, I can't listen anymore because it just sounds so boring. I don't know.
Homogenous almost.
Yeah, it does sound like if you just played like a 5-second clip of a song, like they all sound the same, you know. But That's my take. It has some good songs or some good halves of songs, I guess, in the way that it was released. But not a fan of how everything just drags out, and like some of the songs are literally just the same loop over and over and over and over again.
So
Which
if
I
we
just find
found
so
you
boring.
a version of the album where the songs weren't attached to each other, I feel like that would mitigate 30 to 60% of what you're complaining about.
It would mitigate a solid 20 to 30%, but it's still like the songs are just boring. Like it's literally the same thing over and over again. Like
So I don't have to give my whole take right now, but I think that's an interesting point because I think listening back to it now that I have played guitar and listened to music with a more music theory critical, music production critical mindset, I see where you're coming from with that. I think that's, in my opinion, your most valid point, where I honestly like don't listen to as much of the punk, alt rock, pop rock, like that I did anywhere from 3 years to 7 to 10 years ago. And it's one of the reasons why I listen to a lot of that 90s grunge, like Soundgarden stuff more, because there's more layering, like of instruments. To your point, it sounds like what you were saying about Green Day, about like Billy Joe on guitar, is that his guitar was tuned a certain way, plugged into a pedal board, a rig in a certain format, and it did not change. Like they could have recorded the album in one studio session.
yeah.
Like he didn't click on a pedal or click off a pedal the whole time. Like it was the same thing. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of breaking down the what I'm trying to say, at least as far as the sonics of the album.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I noticed that as well as I listen back to it. So I don't think that there is this much variety in the production, and so I could see how that would hit your ears, and especially your ears, and be a little monotonous. But I also think that even you alluded to like Holiday and Boulevard Broken Dreams being songs of different tempos. There's also songs of different moods and energies and paces here. You know what I mean? So there's not variety in every way. And I can for you, like who's so heavily inspired by say like Tame Impala, who is like a really, really just clever producer, and it's very experimental. I can see how this would fall a little flat, but I'd be interested to hear like what Jack you have to say aside from nostalgia, which probably gives it a bump in our eyes. Dan, I think you're the same way. I'm sure you've listened to a lot of it, but like Jack, like what is it in the album that sticks out to you as a positive?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm really trying to not let nostalgia alter my take on the album. It's kind of hard to not do that. I think that definitely gives it a little bit more credit in my eyes. But just looking at the album by itself, I really like the story behind it. I think it's really fascinating. Just going from the beginning to the end, and kind of open to interpretation at the end of like what actually happens to Jesus of Suburbia. And I think it's really good commentary at the time, and it's also kind of a timeless album because these issues just like haven't changed at all. You can listen to this now and think if like Bush and stuff and specific things at least in the beginning of the album weren't called out, this album could have been made now, and you could still just have the same themes apply. So from a lyrical standpoint, I think there's a lot of substance to it, and I think that's worth giving them credit for. Musically, I am a really big fan of the B side of this album. The back half, I think, is the front half is a lot of singles: American Idiot, Holiday, Jesus of Suburbia, Boulevard Broken Dreams. I mean, they're all pretty big radio hits, and they still are some of like the most streamed songs by Green Day. And they're fun, but like when I go back to listen to this album, I usually just like skip over American Idiot because it's just like, I don't know, I've heard it too many times and it's kind of annoying. But like Extraordinary, okay, going from like Give Me Novocaine on is just, I think they're all just such phenomenal songs in their own right. Like every single one, I completely disagree with Nigel. I think they all bring a really different sound and a really different, they all evoke really different emotions for me. Homecoming really does feel like a homecoming when you listen to it, and you can hear it at the end, like with "We're Coming Home Again," and when Trey Cole is doing the rock and roll girlfriend part, like it's really fun and the energy is really great. And then you get home for the homecoming, and then it's "What's Her Name," and then it's a completely different feel, and it's like a really melancholy song, and the lyrics go with that. So I really think that they all, bring a completely different vibe. And same with like "Wake Me Up When September Ends." I know it's talks about his dad the entire time. His dad dying, 7 years and then 20 years, and there's all these different themes for every song. And they all, to me, because these themes are so different, you can really just hear that in the music as well. I think they all stand out a lot, especially in the second half. The first half is a lot more like punk rock, and the second half of the album is a little bit more like, I don't really know how to describe it. Just it's different, and I think it's really unique, and it's their sound, and I don't know. I think it's fantastic, and it's pretty timeless in my opinion.
I want to chime in real quick. I completely disagree on it being timeless, because like I feel like timeless, at least to me, in my opinion, means like that it's not outdated. And like maybe lyrically I can see that, but like sonically, like it's so easy to place this album, like where it's from, and I don't feel it. Like there's not enough going on from a music standpoint and from a mixing standpoint. It just kind of lands flat, I guess. So I wouldn't say that it's timeless, at least musically. I can see what you're saying lyrically, because the issues that they talk about are not unique to the early 2000s. But also, just another note, if we're going off the way that this album was originally released, I think it's technically 9 songs with a total length of 57 minutes, which is just kind of crazy to me. I just noticed that, but that's just so long.
But I mean, like, we are all deadheads here. We've just done like 2 or 3 episodes back to back about the Dead.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, we've talked about how length needs to be justified by the music, and clearly, in your opinion, it isn't. Which is, that is your opinion, and that's fair. But again, like length in itself, it would be hypocritical to Deadhead, someone who went to 3 Dead shows this summer, to say that length is a bad thing. Now, if not done right, it can be a bad thing. So that's valid. But
Yeah, it's not done right.
Like, want to make that distinction.
Like think about a Dead song that's 9 minutes long. Think about how like all the different places that Dead song goes sonically, and how it's not just long for the sake of being long. Whereas like some of these songs are long because they just play the hook 8 times, and it's like, okay, we get it. You found a riff that sounds good. Now, can we move on?
Give Me Novocaine, She's a Rebel goes completely different places. Same with Extraordinary Girl Letter Bomb. Same with, you even said, Holiday Boulevard Broken Dreams goes 2 completely different places. It's similar to like Help on the Way, Slipknot, Franklin's Tower. 3 different songs that are typically thought of as one song. And, it's the same concept. And I think they don't, I would give it to you in like Boulevard or in Jesus Suburbia. It kind of goes on for a little bit, and they kind of get repetitive. I think you bring up a good point. I agree with you, but I don't think that's the case with the majority of the songs here.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. My only counterpoint is like they're listed as separate songs here. It should be separate songs. Like there's no reason they should be together, because they're not about the same thing. Like they're only the same song because Green Day decided we're gonna put them together, not for any musical or. It was not like
artists do.
Yeah, but like if Kanye like took Gold Digger and some random ass song and put them together, it doesn't mean that it's one song. It's still 2 separate songs. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we should move on. I think we've said our pieces here about this, and I think we're not going to get to any more conclusion. respect your opinion.
Everyone has to agree with me, and we're not going anywhere.
and
Holding this meeting hostage.
I'm just trying to shut this up, honestly. No, no, it's good discourse. I'm glad we're able to talk through it. I want to hear Dan and Inky. I know Dan has lots to say. I can tell by his facial expressions that.
Yeah, he's antsy.
Well, I don't know. I see what everyone is saying. Like, at least for me, and like listening to Green Day, like I'm not the biggest Green Day fan. Like I know this album because I think everyone in our generation does. Like I think it's that iconic and kind of sets like a standard of that period. Like as Nigel said, I can easily place where this album is from. Like I hear the guitar, I hear Billy Joe Armstrong, and I know where I am. I can think about like the kind of musical sphere, you know. Think of like Tom DeLonge, you know. But I can see how with some of these songs you can think they're kind of repetitive and a little long, you know. Like that's kind of a staple of punk music is the kind of just like thrashing of chords, and you just got like a high speed like 3-chord, 4-chord riff. But I think what really stands out and what separates the song is like Billy Joe Armstrong's performance and his lyricism. Like I think for the most part he kind of gives the best performance I've heard out of like all of Green Day music. Like I only really know this in Dookie, and I don't even really know Dookie that well. I think I've listened to it in Seamus's basement like 1 or 2 times.
Checks out.
Great place.
Yeah. But I guess I don't know, since this album came out around the time of CDs, like if we're thinking of A and B sides, Jack, would you say like Give Me Novocaine is where the second half? That's where you split it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think like the first side is the most like iconic. Like American Idiot, Jesus of Suburbia, Holiday Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Like that just I know all of those songs and I know them so well because I've heard them a bunch. Like I think those are all the singles that were released on top of Wake Me Up When September Ends. But being able to listen to the album, I definitely love the B-side like a lot more. Like the first time I heard it, I kind of thought it was like a little samey. Like I didn't necessarily recognize all the songs, you know. It kind of thrashed the guitar parts a lot. But I think it's still like awesome. Like the more times I listen through the album, like Give Me Novocaine, I actually really like that song. Like a song I hadn't really clocked previously. Really liked it. Letter Bomb, great song. Homecoming, it's the lesser known epic song on the album, and mostly known Jesus of Suburbia, but still also really great. Like I think it has enough ebb and flow change. Like I think this album really hits. Like it kind of sets a standard. Like you can think like, oh, this album is so dated, like blah 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 blah. But I think it kind of set a standard that is easy to like be overlooked. Like it can be undersold. But I can see how people wouldn't be as stoked on this album because, it's really just like the 3 power trio kind of going. But I think they give one hell of a performance.
Dan, what do you know about the musical version of it? Do you know?
I've sang some songs from it, but it's just their songs. Like I know Elizabeth Alt and Charlotte Bleemer did like a theater performance.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they had some of these songs in it. I'm pretty sure I sang When September Ends.
Nice.
But no, I don't really know the musical too well. I just know that it's popular enough to have gotten a musical version.
That's what this.
I think
this is up here.
Kind of. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, that's what came out in 2015. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, gotcha. Inky, I have no idea where you stand on this album.
He's going to stand on the right side of history. I'll tell you that.
Me? Is that what you said, Trent?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a fun. I almost said it was a fun listen, but that not to be. It was fun listening to you guys talk about it. This is a serious episode, man. I feel like I'm in a courtroom or like a professional debate, and I just opened my briefcase and it was like spaghetti in there. Like, I definitely didn't do my homework this week. I'm kind of with Nigel here.
A dozen donuts.
Like, oh shit. And I'm just looking around, a little panicked, but My takes are pretty shallow. So the critique isn't to the depth of Nigel's or has that substance, but for me, kind of these like two diametrically opposed ideas, and again from a layman's perspective, so pretty high level thoughts. Starting with the good. So I listened to this a bit, a couple weeks ago whenever we decided we were going to do it, but I listened again this morning. I was feeling pretty groggy, and I wanted to start the day with a run. And I was listening to just a podcast for 20, 30 minutes, feeling pretty winded, unmotivated, no comment. And then I thought it was a good time to switch it up, change the tempo. So for those purposes, this album, I think it's a fantastic kick in the ass. Good for running, good for working out.
Amen.
Yeah. So, but kind of to what Nigel was saying. Other than that, nothing really stood out for me. The length thing, I didn't really dissect it or evaluate it from a musical perspective. I didn't go to that depth. And what we were talking about at the beginning with that nostalgia, obviously I'm the same age as you guys, so definitely participated in that. But for me, it's more of a it doesn't bring back like the good feelings of nostalgia. It's like that corny, edgy middle school vibe. I don't know if you guys get that at all, but that's kind of, and maybe that shouldn't that shouldn't play into the rating or my thoughts, like Jack said. But I mean, it's there for me. And again, it's a layman's perspective. So I'm not as bullish on the album. So I'm with you, Nigel. I am on the right side of history. Thank you very much.
I mean, that's valid.
3 beats too.
Even if you think like you have nostalgia for it, like of course there's some level of like, corniness, at least in my opinion too. Like going into the album, I was really nostalgic because I know what you would call the A side of this album fairly well, except for Use of Suburbia, and a couple of the other songs too. But actually listening through the album, I just got like exhausted. It was difficult listening through the entire album, to be honest. Man. So it was kind of an upset.
That's too bad.
In the sense of like, because some of the songs are really good. It's hard to listen to the whole thing for me.
It was in listening to this album that you realized you just had a shit childhood.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Thanks, Seamus.
Meanwhile, Dan now we're just partying, having a great 2004. 2004 was quite.
Yeah, I was having the time of life, man.
Dude, 2004, you had Anchorman, you had Dodgeball, you had American Idiot. What else do you need? I mean, come on. I think Talladega Nights came out a few years later too. I mean, it was just a great time for America.
I think that was later.
Minus the war, minus 9/11, all that. It was a great time for
the energy I can get behind.
Yeah. No, it was a corny time. Also, just like it just was. Like there is no denying. There's a little bit of corniness to this music. It's pop punk. That's just kind of comes with the turf. And you just kind of got to swallow that and listen. I don't know. Are you guys big? I'm not a Blink-182 fan. A lot of my friends are. I think Seamus is. Is that right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Saw them live before too.
Yeah. Okay. They give me similar vibes. I think they're super corny, and I don't really like them.
They definitely have way more like I hate my mom kind of angst.
Tom DeLonge's voice too, man.
I appreciate that angst though.
I mean, I hate my mom, so it's
spot on.
I can't do the boys.
I can't handle
it.
Just kidding. Love you, Mom.
I don't know if you guys. I mean, I'm not a Weezer guy either. You guys might be Weezer guys. I feel like
Weezer's pretty good.
I know a lot of people like. I'm not a huge.
Weezer I like Weezer and Blink-182 more than Green Day.
Blink-182 more than Green Day.
Dude, to every point that you made about not liking Green Day, aside from you like being hung up on songs being together, I'm kind of shocked that you like Weezer more. I like all three bands. Blink fall in the same category of music that I referenced earlier, where I am not listening to them as much as I used to be, because the simplicity. Travis Barker's a great drummer.
Yeah.
Like let's put that out there. But outside of that, they're not shredding. It's a power trio, which for some reason that I like that a lot about a band. But they're not the ones where you're like, wow, I can't believe it's only three guys. That sounds so full. It's not really like that, you know?
Yeah.
But dude, about Weezer are like the laziest band in the world. Like I like them, and their harmonies are solid. But like, dude, their music is not that complicated. They're like it's just like them casually strumming a couple chords. Their albums are called like the Blue Album,
The
Green
colors,
Album.
yeah, it's hard to differentiate which albums because of the way they name them. But I think honestly they're a little bit more musically interesting than this album, to be honest.
There's definitely some variation, but if I can go,
No.
you talk about music.
Nice
You
try.
talk about music. Nigel's probably like, "Nah, I think we're actually out of time."
Yeah, sorry, let's wrap this baby up. Put it in the F category. All right, let's
Oh God.
see you guys next week.
But to Nigel's point, I was thinking about it because while I did kind of agree with you, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The internet. I'm in a different house. I just had a little internet warning, so I was a little worried there. But maybe it's just my laptop. But we were talking about the concept of Billy Joe picking up guitar, not tuning it differently or hitting the pedal or anything like that. Dude, Wake Me Up in September Ends has an acoustic guitar. And also Letter Bomb does that like hand percussion.
Yeah.
So again, and nothing. It's not crazy. It didn't like throw a sitar in there or a horn section, and I'm sure that may be more so what you're looking for, I guess. But there's a little bit of variety. There's still a lot of similarity throughout it. I think it's a valid point. I think you make a lot of valid points, Nigel. I still am 100% convinced that you are overly hung up on songs not being separated. From a Spotify listening perspective, I do get that.
Yeah.
No, that's not the biggest thing. I mean, I harp on that, and it is. I do think it's
I know it
like
grinds me.
dumb, but at the end of the day, that's not the biggest thing because like they would have played back to back anyway, so I would have listened to them in a similar way anyway. But like it was just difficult to listen all the way through the album. And you're right, they do change it up a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't even like when September Ends song. So, I guess they changed it up. I didn't even like it.
Man,
Which
too
is
bad. I would
It's
have.
an anthem, bro.
Say that
What's
again.
that?
We all just talked at the exact same time. It's too bad. Throughout the album, I get more and more excited for the next song. It's crazy how different we've approached this, which is really fascinating. I think, if we want to go through, if we want to talk about our MVPs, we can just skip Nigel because I don't think he has one.
Well, you said American Idiot was your favorite, right?
Yeah, I guess American Idiot's his favorite. Pretty basic.
Yep.
I'm just like ripping on Nigel.
He has brought it upon himself.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
I'm a huge fan of I'd say of Extraordinary Girl, Homecoming, and what's her name? I think that whole section. Wake Me Up When September Ends. It's definitely not my favorite. It's, I don't know.
Agreed, I think.
My
Wow.
sister always hated
All
it.
my opinions are being vindicated right now, live. You see it, everyone. You see it. You see what's happening here.
I mean, I don't know. Maggie always hated it. She always made us skip it because she was born in September and she hates that song's called that. So we always have to skip it.
What a deep opinion, Maggie.
Yeah.
So that's par for the course.
I was born in that month. He'll play this song.
I think she was just butthurt because she was born on 9/11 and everyone hates September and her birthday.
Oh, forgot about that.
Yeah, not great. Anyways, yeah, I don't know if you guys want to talk through your MVPs and favorites or whatnot, or if we just want to go to the ranking. Seamus and favorite is, and Dan, I'm curious what your favorite is.
Yes.
Okay.
So a couple. Sorry, Dan, were you saying something?
I was just gonna say that "Give Me Novocaine" was definitely my favorite going into the album after a long time. Just kind of like that song, like bridge and chorus. Really dig it. But otherwise, "Holiday" and "Boulevard of Broken Dreams" are the ultimate classic songs. I was most excited to hear those again, as well as "Wake Me Up When September Ends." I just haven't listened to it in a long enough time where the classic single songs from this album still hit for me. I was stoked to listen to those.
Yeah.
Inky, anything you like?
I like the whole concept
Clearly,
album thing.
like actually enjoy.
Everything Nigel said he hated. I like the
it's
idea
cool
of how they're conceptually. The merch and Spotify. There's a little slash run into each other. They really considered it. It's well composed. Sorry, not
In terms of
It's fine.
some of the songs that I
You
like,
like
so I like She's a Rebel a lot.
yeah.
That's a pace that's typical of like the pace of a song that I would really enjoy. I like Saint Jimmy. And the other one that I like the most, the top three, the third, probably my favorite is Jesus of Suburbia. So
Yeah.
I think one thing. So about Jesus of Suburbia, like I think one of the reasons I love it, and me and Inky have talked about this, is that like there is kind of like a really punk anti-establishment energy to this whole album, obviously, and I think Jesus Suburbia is the peak example of that. So I think maybe some people hear that and just associate it with the same vibe that like Link is all about, and so it doesn't land home at all for you. But like definitely one of the reasons why I always liked punk, why I like the Clash and songs like I Fought the Law, and I'm trying to think of other examples. I mean, Bonto Goes to Bitburg by the Ramones and all these, like I love that. Again, that anti-establishment.
Whoa. You know who I work for, right? Better watch your mouth.
I was going to suggest that maybe Nigel just doesn't like this album because it's anti-American.
It's anti-war.
Yeah.
Guys, I need a job. Come on.
If anything, we should be singing about starting another war.
Yeah, get some Skinner on.
But so I like that a lot. I know Inky, like I had you listen to "Give 'Em Enough Rope" by the Clash, and I don't know. I feel
That's
like I
an awesome
remember
song.
you album.
Cut out for a sec, but I think we.
I did.
Yeah, just for like a half a second. But
Why? I told Inky that's an album, not a song.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Bummer. Let's move on.
You got
We'll
good.
cut that out.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that like
Go ahead.
I like Trey Cool a lot too, so I think that's why all those songs that I just picked, he's really playing really high energy stuff. But I think one thing that's interesting about this album is like we've talked about how like nostalgia can be a pro bias. I think that association with like the corny times of middle school can also be like a bias against it. So like the White Stripes are a band that I listened to a lot during that like peak middle school phase. I'm not really that interested in listening to them again because I just associated with like that time a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of this album. Like I said, I think Dookie is probably my favorite Green Day album, but this one will always be kind of cool and fun to listen to.
Sweet. Wise words.
Yeah, now this should be interesting.
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
The ranking.
Record so far on the podcast.
Yeah.
What else do you have down there?
Okay, computer.
Okay, I see. Okay, computer.
And
Yeah, I
Shield and
was-
Cross,
Oh, right there.
Summer Breeze.
I was just cataloging our group chat. I think this is kind of the order of the episodes. It is nice to have it picked out in advance if everyone's okay with these. Again, these were
I'd like to get
this was
in there if we can at some point.
what was that?
What?
I would like to request an album at some point, and it would be Chili Peppers at
Yeah,
some point.
for sure.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think you're
the-
good, probably.
And where are we thinking
um,
as opposed to OK Computer for Radiohead? Possibly.
Benz,
So-
you said?
The Bends, yeah.
Yeah, I've
Instead
listened
of
to
OK
Benz a
Computer?
lot recently.
You think?
I'll
I love that
for
album.
that.
I love that one.
It's earlier. It'd probably make chronological sense if we hit it first.
Yeah. This was your pick. Your defending of the Johnny Greenwood in the Mount Rushmore episode. So
Yeah.
so that's coming up next week actually. So you were thinking the Benz instead of OK Computer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll make that switch.
By the way, I've been to Mount Rushmore since we did the Mount Rushmore episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Did they update it?
Ours is better. Ours is better. There's way less fat Americans in ours, just gross, cut off shirts and sweat. So ours is better.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic.
What's American Idiots?
Dan, what do you think American Idiot is on this ranking list?
I don't know. I would have no problem putting it at the top of B as like a baseline.
What did you expect, Nigel? I'm going. I say high
What?
A personally.
Oh, better than Rubber Soul?
I'm gonna. Oh yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely above Men at Work. I'm probably gonna put this on right after we hop off this call. I'm gonna put this album on.
No, I'm taking it down. I'm taking it off Spotify. It's going in the trash.
I'm taking it down.
Put it in
What do
the
you think?
I'm
Compared
saying
to the other.
C. It's better than Chicago. I'll say that, but
Okay.
I
Top of
think
C for you,
Abandoned
Nigel.
That's a better album. Not Full in the Ring, but Into the Outdoor is definitely a better album.
I think I agree with you, Nigel. I'd put it in the same spot. Actually, I might split the difference there. Or actually, I might just go last. I just put it in two different spots.
For me, just me, I'd say it's at least a high B. I would maybe say, as looking at A, I would probably class this around Rubber Soul. I also really like Men at Work, this album. And Mad Villain, I was kind of clear, like, of the A ones was my least favorite. I could put this up with those. I feel like we're probably going to settle for B, which, like, I'm an outdoor guy. I think we all like American Beauty. Hall Notes was good. London Calling was good, but there was a lot of songs on it. There were some, probably times when you tune out a little bit. I would be fine with it. I feel like that's the most kind of happy medium we're going to make it. But per, like, me and Jack's opinion, it's happy. And that's what Dan said, too. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, probably around that American Beauty, Hall Notes is where it's going to land if we're compromising. I mean, I also think, like, looking back at this right now, I mean, I wasn't there for Rubber Soul. Can't say, obviously. And Men at Work, I feel like Into the Outdoor and London Calling would go above both of those, in my opinion. I know we're maybe not looking reorganized right now, but that just doesn't seem right. And I would also put Green Day above Men at Work. But I don't know if I'd put Green Day above London Calling and Into the Outdoor. So I would probably go toward, I'm down with what Seamus said. Stick it out.
This list is way out of whack for you, man.
It is way out of whack.
It's interesting.
But that's why we have 5 people here. So
Right.
I'm glad we all agreed on 1984. That's probably
Yeah, right. It's the only
That's good.
album we've agreed on.
That album brought us all happiness.
To be fair, it's banger after banger with that album.
yeah, I feel like we might need one of those after this week. We need something that we're all happy with.
Maybe.
Hopefully, you'll be surprised by Radiohead.
I hope.
The Benz is a great album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I trust you guys' opinion. I don't know much by Radiohead at all, but I have a feeling I'm going to like it. But what do we say for this high B? Keep it easy, right? Split the middle, basically.
Middle B.
I don't
Below
I
Into
feel like
the
we can
Outdoor.
I mean, Nikki and Nigel, would you rather see it at the bottom of B?
I think it's better than the Chicago album. So top C, definitely. It's definitely better than anything else in C, and it's definitely not as good as Into the Outdoor. So anywhere between there is fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say this is a fair assessment from all of us combined, average out, right in the middle. I think that's what you're saying.
You know what we should do one of these days? Not an episode, but just like once we hit a certain number, 20 or something like that, we should all just make this for ourselves with these albums.
Yeah.
And just post it or share it with each other or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Look at this small distribution. I love seeing it.
I mean, it makes sense.
Are we
It
ever
makes
gonna
sense
do
though.
a D album? Like what? Like what? Are we gonna pick one? Do you think?
I mean, Chicago should have been there, but you know,
Might
what are you
happen.
gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
It's gonna
Dude,
be a real
I'm down to not pick a D album.
Yeah,
waste
I'm
of
down to
time.
never record.
disaster.
This Seals and Croft one might be.
Oh, well, that being
It's a great album. It's a fantastic
Good
album.
Yeah,
one.
never mind. It'd have to be about. I think it'd have to be four of us to really, really hate on an album, and then one person to go, it's, it was pretty good. For
Yeah.
one person to end up there.
That one person just kind of gets shafted.
Yeah.
Dude, the only other thing I'll say, I don't want to start lining up 10 different episodes, but like shocked that we haven't even really discussed doing a Steely Dan episode.
Oh yeah. True that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Apparently,
throw
Inky doesn't
each
even
other.
like Steely Dan.
Yeah. Apparently, he only listened to them for like 2 weeks. That
Rumor has it.
was a wild claim.
Yeah.
I say wild stuff on the internet, man. That's what I do.
I'm edgy.
Get the
That's
view.
crazy.
For the views.
Oh man. Okay. I think I'm gonna click stop recording unless we have anything else we want to say. Just because I don't know how it ends here.
The
I-
people love the behind the scenes. They want to see all of this.
Yeah.
They need
Okay,
to
bands
know.
next week. Jack, I just cut it. I clip it, so I mean, if you don't want to,
Well, I
you
just
can
don't
do whatever you
know.
want. But
I don't know how it works if like when I end the meeting, if we did lose all our recording. I don't think that's the case, but I'm just gonna click it now.
okay.
I'm gonna click stop recording. Okay.